starting day. At least for me here, and at least for some of my stuff. So even though my garden is still covered in snow, it is time for us to go through and figure out what we're going to plant. So as you can see, I've pulled out all of my crops that I want to start in this season. Now, these are all cold crops or crops that can handle the chill or slight frost. They're also crops that require a lot of time to grow. So I've got turnips and radishes, Brussels sprouts, leafy greens like spinach and cabbage, kales, some more roots, rutabagas, kohlrabi. I always start my cilantro because, as most people may not know, cilantro actually prefers to grow in the cold. Bok choys, artichokes, more kohlrabi, and different root vegetables over there like radishes and beets. 3 of the most important things that any beginning seed starter is going to need to know is timing, lighting, and soil quality. If you get those 3 things mastered, starting seeds is going to be a whole lot easier. So I'm going to go over each of those with you today. Timing, of course, refers to when to start your seeds. This is going to vary depending on where you are in the country or in the world. So everybody talks about their growing zone, and most people know what their growing zone is if you were to mention it. However, your growing zone doesn't really have much to do with when to start your seeds as far as what plants you can grow. Your growing zones refer to how cold your coldest temperature is and how hot your hottest temperature is and how often they happen during the year. Now, you'll notice on most of your seed packets on the back, it will have a little planting instruction. Usually what that planting instruction says will be things like plant out 6 to 8 weeks before last frost or plant out after threat of last frost. They never say plant out at this time for this zone. The reason they do that is because you need to know when your average last frost date is. And that's how you make all of your timetables for when you're going to start your seeds. The easiest way to figure out when your last frost date is to go onto Google and type in last frost date for, and then type in the nearest biggest city to you. That will give you the average last frost date, and then you can go back from there and figure out 6 to 8 weeks before that date, and you know when to start your seeds. Now, as far as cold crops go, which is what I'm starting today, that's really depending on you. You can start them inside. If you have a greenhouse, you can start them whenever you want and put them out there. They are plants that don't mind the chill. So I'm starting mine to make sure that I get enough season to get them out. Some of them actually even taste better after they've had a little frost on them, like kale and lettuce and even Brussels sprouts taste better after a bit of a freeze. The second important thing to remember is lighting. Now, a lot of people will differ on this one, and you can grow plant starts if you have a really big window, but it has to be a south-facing window. And unfortunately, this time of year, too many people's big windows are far too cold for seedlings. Know about grow lights. They're very popular right now. You can get them really easy, and anyone will tell you that, oh, any old fluorescent light will do. Where this is the case, fluorescent lights will help grow a plant. You really need to look at the power of your bulb. You don't have to go out and buy a fancy, expensive grow light. You can buy just a regular shop light from any hardware store. You just have to look at the kelvins or the K. The reason for this is plants require a certain type of light. In our spectrum, when we see light, light looks white, but it varies from yellow to blue. Plants require a certain amount of blue and red light to grow properly, especially vegetables. When looking for a light bulb for growing vegetables inside, you want to stay in a range of 3000 to 5000 K, and it will be on the box of your bulb. If you go anywhere below 3000 Kelvin, you're not going to have enough blue light, and if you go above 5000, you're going to have not enough red. So between the 3,000 and 5,000 K mark is where you want to stay for getting any type of grow light. And I'm going to show you mine here in just a moment. This is how I do my plant setup. Now, this has taken a couple years of acquiring, but I have 2 single bulb grow lights that are on the first rack, and they're on raisers, so I can raise and lower them. And then down on the bottom here, I don't have it turned on so you can see it, I have double bulb grow lights here. Now, it also will get suspended when I get more into the seed starting season. All of these, they are LED bulbs. Now you can do LED grow lights. You just have to make sure that if you're getting an LED bulb, that it says that it's an LED grow light. With the LEDs, you want to make sure, again, to pay attention to that K rating on the box. Lumens are not important when it comes to LEDs. LEDs work in a different way, and the higher the lumens, the more white light there is, and they're stressing out more of the green and yellow, and you're not getting the blue and reds that you need. So make sure you're paying close attention to the box of the bulb. Like I said, 3,000 to 5,000 K is the goal you want to shoot for when buying any type of bulb. Now, your third and somewhat most important step to remember for a new time gardener is your soil. You're starting seeds, you're going to want a seed starting mix. Now, you can make it yourself or you can buy it. The most important thing with your seed starting mix is it needs to be light and fluffy and airy. It needs to have good water retention, and it needs to be small pieces. A lot of times people will go and they'll buy potting mix and it comes home and it's got big chunks of wood in it and sticks, and it's great for plants, but not so good for seedlings. They don't like having to push around those big giant things in their pot to get started. The other thing to remember with seed starting mix is that you don't need a lot of compost in your seed starting. Seeds are very much, if you think of them in the way of eggs, they have nutrients in that seed that's going to help them to feed the plant as it germinates and breaks the surface. You can start feeding your seedlings after they have their first set of true leaves, but you really don't need to concern yourself with having a lot of compost in the soil. In fact, you can germinate seeds in no soil at all. A good seed starting mix is going to have what we call perlite. It's these little white things that look like styrofoam. It's going to have that in there. I will probably add more to this because they never really have enough. But it's also going to have peat moss or coconut coir or something that you can see that kind of fibrous. What that does is that helps give it that springiness and that light and fluffiness so that when you get this wet, it's not going to compact down and hinder the seed growth. I'm also going to add some vermiculite. Vermiculite is going to help with moisture retention as well as helping keeping the soil fluffy and light so that the seedlings can go through it. The thing about using vermiculite is that if you've ever had a situation where you're getting a lot of gnats in the house, those are called fungus gnats. Now, there are 2 ways to prevent that from happening. Vermiculite is one of the easiest things to do for it. Fungus gnats are going to come about because when you have moist soil, it's going to grow fungus, unless you have good airflow. White fungus that you'll see growing on the top of a lot of your seed starts, it's not super harmful to the plant itself, but it is going to attract gnats because they eat it. And the gnats, when they lay their eggs in the soil, the larvae are going to eat the roots of your seedling, and that's not something you want. So the 2 most important things to remember once you've got your seeds started is you need a little box fan to put on the edge of your shelves to make sure that you have good airflow. The other thing is you're going to want some type of cover for your soil. I use vermiculite. You can use play sand as well, as long as you sprinkle. I think I have one right here. So you sprinkle the vermiculite on the top to cover your soil. It's not going to hinder the seed growth, but it's going to make it so the fungus gnats won't lay their eggs in your soil, and it's going to save you a whole lot of heartache. This is my plug planter. It's a 270 cell tray, and I use these for flowers and for lettuces and small leafy greens that grow quickly, put out a lot of roots, and then I will pull them out and plug them into the garden where I need them. So something you'll notice about seeds is they're not all the same. So you're going to have these lettuce seeds, which you see are really, really tiny. You got to think about how the plant grows naturally and the size of the seed. If you were to bury these seeds way down in these pots, the chances of them growing and breaking the surface is slim to none. The smaller the seed, the more shallow you plant it. And things like lettuces, grasses, leafy greens, they like to be broadcast on the surface. So with these, you would just very gently, I always take a couple seeds and I put them just right on the top of each little cell. I cover my trays with vermiculite to keep the fungus gnats off. So I will come back through and they will get buried a little bit, which is why I'm not pushing them down into the soil of these trays. Once my seeds are in, I take a little cup of vermiculite and you just sprinkle it on top. Make sure all of your exposed soil is covered, and that's going to serve two purposes. It's going to bury the seeds ever so slightly, and it's going to keep all the gnats and mold away. Now that I have all of my leafy green and small brassicas, I've got them up on my grow light, and as you can see, my light is very close to the surface because once these start to break the surface, you don't want your light too far away or they're going to stretch too fast, and that's how you get leggy seeds. So I'm going to use these little cups to start some of the harder to start seeds. So like artichokes, an artichoke seed, it looks very much like a sunflower seed. So it's really big and it's a very hard-coated seed. Now, if you were to buy your seeds from a reputable seed company, these are already going to be stratified for you, so you don't have to worry too much about doing that. If you are concerned, however, you can put your seed packet in the freezer for a couple days, and that'll do the trick. But what I do with my artichoke seeds is I put about 4 or so into these little clear containers. Why I do this is to make sure that they germinate. Artichokes are a trickier one to get germinated for me, so I put them in here, and then I put a little lid on top after I've put some water. You see I've got some water in there already. Put the lids on top, and then you sit them under your grow light, and you've effectively created a little greenhouse. It'll keep it nice and moistured in there. Those seeds are going to soak up most of that water and soften up the outer shells and allow the seedling to break through and have germination started. Once you get your seedling broken through and you get your root about 1/2 inch long, you can take them out of here and put them directly into soil. So that's pretty much it. I mean, other things to keep in mind when you're starting seeds for the first time is your planters, your materials that you're going to use. Don't scrimp on buying your seed starting material. Get ones that are going to be sturdy and good and you can use over and over again. I like to get my seed trays from Bootstrap Farmer. They're a really heavy-duty plastic. They last a long time. It's just better to have them. If you can't find any place that sells good quality seed starting materials, Grower Solutions, Bootstrap Farmer, and even Greenhouse Superstore, all online, have great options that you can buy, and you can do them in bulk too to help save a little money. I will have links to those places in the description below. Another great tip to keep in mind is don't go crazy. I know your seed packets are going to come with 20, 30, sometimes even 100 seeds in them, but think about how the plant itself grows and how you're going to use it. Like tomatoes and peppers, 1 plant per seed is going to give you a whole lot more fruit that you use. So if you have a small garden just for yourself and for your family, there's no need to plant 200 tomatoes. You just want to plant a little bit more than what you need just in case, because germination isn't 100% guaranteed, even on really good quality seeds. So if you want 5 tomatoes, plant 10, and then you can pick the strongest and healthiest of them as they grow. So always remember the 3 basics if this is your first time starting seeds: timing, lighting, and soil. If you get those right, it's gonna get you off to a great start. I hope you guys found this video helpful, And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Have a wonderful day.